What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about the season finale of Survivor season 38, The Edge of Extinction. So my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa, and the season finale was. Ugh, I failed an exam on Thursday morning, so then I was like looking back on Wednesday night, and I was like, I shouldn't have said the only place we can go from this Survivor finale was up, because then I failed my exam. I probably didn't actually fail my exam, but you know how that goes. So
Yeah, I missed the finale Wednesday night because I was taking a final exam. I deleted all of my social media starting at 5 p.m. West Coast time. So, like, East Coast spoilers wouldn't even happen. And then I come out of the exam, and then, like, the season finale wasn't even posted yet. So I was like, okay. And then I had to wait till the next day to watch. And I'm like, honestly, it was sort of a waste of 3 hours to sit through this season finale.
yeah, I felt kind of the same way. I was like, did I did I really need to sit through all of this? I feel like most of it could have been summed up in like maybe 30 minutes. So,
Yeah, so this podcast, we're going to be talking about the season finale of Survivor, as well as everything that, like, I guess has happened after the finale. There's debates and whatnot. Next time, we're going to be talking about the season 39 preview that we saw at the live reunion show, because that is a hot mess, also, that we must talk about. But this video, it's a lot, like, I guess, less thought out than our other podcasts. Usually we watch an episode twice, have like an agenda of points that we want to hit, but this is like really not scripted. We're just going to talk about our thoughts and feelings of the finale in general.
yeah, and I think to start with, I would say that one of the reasons this finale wasn't satisfying was because the editing of this whole season didn't really like build up to the finale. Like normally when you look back at the editing of a season, you can then be like, "Oh, it makes sense that this person is the winner." That's why Edgic is like such a big thing because like the editing can tell you a lot if you care to look at it. And I think the fact that like the editing was like building Rick up super super hard was like, okay, if Rick won, then it was going to be really obvious, but at least the edit would have supported the fact that he won. Whereas the winner that we got, like, we haven't seen him at all. Like, at all. Even when they did, like, bits on the edge of extinction, Chris was just, like, absent.
Yeah, so I feel like as a season as a whole, I don't like, you don't need to watch the entire season to understand like the winner. You really just need to watch like the premiere and then the finale, and you're like, okay, whatever. But like, it feels like we just wasted 3 months watching this Survivor season to have someone come back into the game during finale night and then win the entire game. Like, personally, I would have felt more fulfilled if Rick ended up winning the season. If you've seen any of our last few weeks podcasts, you knew that Alyssa and I aren't really that big of fans of Rick winning this season because of his lackluster social skills. But at least the editing supported it, and it wasn't like a swing from left field, like, what the hell is happening. At least you could sort of prepare mentally for, like, okay, Rick can win the game, like, he has a good idol finding game, whatnot. But having someone just come back day 35, day 36, when we have not seen any clips of him from Edge of Extinction, basically from pre-merge when he was helping Keith learn how to swim, like, if you wanted the editing to be better, I feel like at least show Chris on Edge of Extinction. Every single time Reem got a talking point, yes, she's funny. But like, if you wanted a more succinct story, why was Chris not shown? Or why were people who like Joe not shown when they were like the two competing at the end at the little ball maze? It really didn't make any sense. I'm like, I still don't even know Chris and Eric apart. Like, and then Chris comes back in the finale, and I'm like, is this Chris or is this Eric? Like, who the hell is this person?
Yeah, it's like we're not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing that someone came back at the last minute and won the game. Like, that's fine. But also, it's like if Kelly or Aubrey or Joe came back it would have made a little more sense because we saw some of them when they were at the edge of extinction. Like even if Reem came back, it would make sense because, like Rachel said, every time we were at the edge of extinction, we saw Reem, and so it's like it's just very dissatisfying that it's like one of the people that I'm supposed to like root for in this game, I'm just not even seeing ever, and it's like I feel like part of what makes a good Survivor season is you like the winner and you're invested in the winner. And even if you don't like the winner as a person, you at least like their game or understand their game. And it's like
Yeah.
with Chris, we didn't get any of that. We didn't see him like as a person. We didn't see him as a strategist. We didn't see him as like even as someone who could win the game. Like I think in previous podcasts, Rachel and I were talking about, oh, if this person came back from the edge, they could win the game. And I'm pretty sure one of us, probably me, said, even if Chris gets back in, I don't think he could win the game. Just because we have not seen any of him.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I think it could have been a very satisfying finale if we did see more from specifically Chris at the edge, maybe some other people that were like contenders to win the ball maze kind of thing. Because it's like, who is this random person? Chris said he's a sales rep, like 0.2 seconds. What's his home life like? You know, I'm pretty sure is engaged or is married or whatever, but
He's
like
engaged,
we
yeah.
we literally know nothing about this dude. He comes back day 35, day 36, 4 more days in the game, ends up being $1 million richer. So, like, good for him. But, like, we have not seen anything really from him, which is, I think, the most unsatisfying part of the finale. Because it's like, why did I spend 12 weeks in the middle here watching Rick play the game, watching Aurora, watching all the 4 returners play the game when like someone who's voted out third on the season is going to come back in and we have not seen anything from him? Look at his confessional counts. He's like non-existent. I feel like the producers really screwed this one up because they should be editing Chris more into the season, editing other people more into the season. So it's not just like this dude who is voted out day or third is coming back and winning the season. I think there could have been a bigger story told here with Chris on edge, like crying or whatever, doing whatever he does, showing more of his supposed social game on the edge. So when he does come back and win the season, it makes sense for viewers. But literally, we see none of his supposed social game on Extinction. Like we saw one time when he was catching fish for people, but his main final tribal speech was literally about him and his social game, the bonds he created at Edge. But like, why didn't we see this? If this is going to be his main argument and go up to win the game, the editors know who is going to win the game. So like, why did they not focus more on Chris, maybe 2 other people at Edge to make it a like guessable storyline? Like, it really doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and it's like even before Chris was voted out, like my memory of the beginning of the season is not perfect, but I'm pretty sure even before he was voted out, like he didn't get that great of an edit. Like he just existed. And when he got voted out, we were kind of like, oh, cannon fodder's gone. And it's like, again, we're not saying that like you have to be able to guess the winner, but it's like you should be able to look back and be like, yeah, that makes sense. And it doesn't make sense. So
Yeah, like I would not recommend anyone who wants to watch Survivor to watch this season because with the whole Edge of Extinction twist too, it's not really representative of normal Survivor gameplay or like Survivor gameplay in general. And with this topic, I just feel like the editing, it needs to be fixed. In addition, like Eric, I'm not confusing them. Eric, like in the Ponderosa video, he got a lot of screen time in that. He's funny. People in the comments were like, Eric is such a mood. He's so cool, kind of thing. Eric did not talk the entire finale. Like, he didn't even get a question asked at Final Tribal Council. So I'm like, okay, why is the Survivor editing so bad that, like, we get so much time on Rick Devens? Rick loses that Final Four, which Rick is probably going to be invited back for another season. Everyone loves him, kind of thing. But like, why so much of Rick when Julie and Gavin are in the final 3 too? Why don't we get more screen time on that? Why don't we get more screen time on Chris on Edge if he's playing social games, stuff like that, when he's going to win the goddamn season? It was so like, it really does not make any sense.
Going into the final 3, you were just like sitting there stroking your chin because you're like, none of these people have had like compelling like winners arcs. And like, I feel like just the editing of this season was bad because like we think back to like when Keith and Wendy left Extinction, like we never saw them leave Extinction. They were just kind of gone.
Raise the flag. Hoo-hoo. What was your reasoning for it? We have no idea.
Yeah, and so it's like we got this really weird edit where it's like after Chris got back in, they had this moment where like everyone who was on Edge got to talk about like what Survivor meant to them or whatever. But it's also just like, guys, I want to know about the winner of this season because it's like there are some Survivor winners that I don't like as people, but I can still respect their game. And like watching their season, I'm like, oh, this is part of what made them a winner of their game. So
yeah. So with Chris's win, all the stuff he's saying is stuff that us as viewers have no idea if they happened or not. We did not see it on the TV. Everything is basically from the Edge. And then we have his 3 or 4 days in the game where he did have good tribal councils and like he obviously had to have some kind of maneuvering in the game to be able to make it to the final 3. And like we'll talk about that because Chris making it to the final 3, everyone else had a really bad finale. Everyone else made so many mistakes to let Chris get to the end in general kind of thing. It's like it was a hot mess finale to watch. I'm like, this is like a waste of my time, especially when you see the final 3 is Chris, Julie, and Gavin. I'm like, these are 3 people we really have not seen a lot in terms of screen time from. We know that like Victoria and Gavin have driven votes, Julie's social game, but like we don't know the next level to be able to root for them enough to want them to win the game. It's like, if they're going to be final 3, why not give them a better edit?
yeah, it's like the edits seem to want us all to kiss Rick's ass, and it's like I don't understand why. Like
just because Rick is for sure being brought back for another season.
But it's like this season is, you know, I'm just my brain is struggling to process like whose idea it was to edit this the way that it is, because it's like just because someone is a good character does not mean they should get all the screen time, and it's like
yeah, I feel like it definitely just goes to show the theme of the season. I think is really interesting because I guess looking back at it, if you were on this tribe, you probably 100% shouldn't want someone who has ever been to the Edge to sit next to you in the final 3. And I think it was downplayed with everyone saying, like, we need to vote Rick out because he's good at challenges, he's good at finding idols. But it really should have been like, we need to vote Rick out because he's been to the Edge. And like we've talked about it before in our podcast, like you have such a big jury advantage going to hang out on the edge of Extinction, like doing nothing, hanging out, eating rice, catching fish, kumbayaing. Like, yes, you're technically still in the game and it's also sort of like snaky in that way, but you don't have the whole aspect of voting people out. If you are on this season, you do not want to sit next to someone from the Edge in final 3 because that person has had, like Chris, a whole month to sit on the Edge and just make friends with these people. Chris has never had to vote any one of these people on the jury out besides Reem. So he's like clean slate with everything, versus Gavin and Julie have had to vote out a majority of the people on the jury. And so like someone like Chris coming in, or even Rick going into the final 3 where he's been on Edge and he can relate to that like hardship, and Chris can relate to that hardship. Like it's an unfair advantage in a way, but you should have been like, we don't want to sit next to him in final 3 because he has that advantage of being friends with them and never voting them out, never have anything like that, versus the other people sitting up there. Like, you want 3 people who have played the game 39 days, never been on edge.
Yeah. It's like how people don't respect someone's game because if they like never had to go to a tribal council, and it's like you didn't have this fundamental experience that I had, and it makes our games fundamentally different. And it's like you just everything you said about not wanting to sit next to someone who's been at edge is like just such a mood, because it's like you don't know how much time he spent like with everyone else. For all you know, he's like best buds and has already gotten them all to promise, like, if you get voted back in, I'll vote for you. Because it's like you can make that promise to everyone on the edge because only one of you is getting back in. So if everyone on the edge was like, you know what, we just want to vote for whoever comes back from the edge, they could do that, and it would mean that someone could win basically effortlessly. Like, you just there's so much about the time on the edge that you don't know about that you should not be comfortable letting someone come back from the edge and sit next to you at final 3. Which
And
brings
that,
up a question for me. Could
yeah.
Julie have refused the immunity that Chris offered?
So with this final tribal council, I was a little confused. We'll have to come back to that other point you just talked about. But when Chris gave Julie the immunity, shouldn't Julie be the person to vote now who goes to fire and who gets to sit next to her? I thought it was sort of whack that Jeff just said, like, okay, because you gave your immunity to Julie, now Chris and Rick are going to fire. Like, hee hoo hoo. What if Julie wants to send Gavin to fire? Like, where was her choice? Because technically Chris was supposed to cast the vote and write on parchment who they're bringing to final 3. Like, all the other seasons we've seen this fire challenge, the one person goes, they vote for the person they're taking to final 3. But here they sort of just looped around it. Chris, I feel like when he gave the immunity, Julie should have been the person to go to the voting booth and then vote who she wanted. And
That
maybe
would
they
be
edited
like
it
such
out.
a baller move if she had then voted for like Gavin and Rick to fire or something, like take away all of Chris's thunder. But
I
yeah.
really hope it was edited out and they didn't like screw up the rules, because Julie should have been the person to pick the 2 people going to fire, even though Chris won immunity. So I really hope it was just edited out and not like a faux pas on Jeff's part.
Yeah. So
Otherwise, there we have an issue. So I think going back to what you said, though, I like not realizing that you don't want to sit next to someone on edge, probably the overarching theme of the finale episode. From the first vote when Victoria's voted out, like Lauren, that's basically, she sealed herself being voted out at the next vote because she played an idol for Chris, who, sure, they were on the original tribe together, like she voted him out kind of thing, but like, I don't know. Maybe his social game was just that good when he told her that Kelly wants you to play this idol for me or for someone else. But like, you've been holding on to this idol the entire time. Why not play it for yourself? And why not guarantee yourself when you know you're not getting votes at final 6? Save it when you can last use it at final 5 kind of thing. And like, when she gave it to Chris, I'm like, what the heck? Why would you choose Chris over Victoria kind of thing? And then everything went downhill after that.
yeah, I just feel like so many of them made decisions that, like, I'm sure in their heads at the time it seemed like the right thing to do. But like watching them make the decisions, I'm pretty sure I yelled at my TV like no less than like 5 separate times because I'm just like, you guys think. because I think that they get so caught up in this idea of like, oh, I got to manage the jury, that they don't realize that you can't manage the jury if you're not in the final three. You can't manage the jury if you're sitting on the jury. Like, just saying.
Yeah, so final six, Lauren choosing Chris over Victoria or choosing to keep Chris. I'm like, damn. Okay, Chris has to have a semi-fine social game. Like, yeah, he's an attractive dude, whatever. But to get someone to play an idol for you when you just met them again in the aura of you need to make a big move, like, good for you. Okay, great. Victoria's out. And I'm like, okay. Then it just went downhill the next vote. Okay, I think my issue with this, Chris should not have come back in at the final six, maybe at 7 or 8, I think. So we could have seen this person who comes back from the edge have more game time. We can see their social game, their competitive game, their outwit, outlast, outplay game. But with Chris coming back at final six, we literally see him at 2, 3 tribal councils and then it's final tribal. Like, I don't think we get a big enough picture, especially when you see the person coming back from edge winning. I think coming back at final six is too late. The person coming back should have came in at 7 or 8, or maybe have 3 rounds where people come back in. They did it like right before the merge, or like right at the merge, right? And then at final six, maybe do pre-merge, merge, final 7 kind of thing. I just think 6 is too late, especially when you're giving someone an immunity idol at final freaking 6.
I think so too, especially because they can't play the immunity idol at final six. They have to give half of it away and then they get it back for final 5. And it's like, so basically, if this person can make it past the final 6 vote, they're safe at final 5 because they have an idol and have a chance of getting to final 3 because worst comes to worst, they go to fire and they have a 50-50 shot. And I feel like that's just a recipe to put someone from edge in the finale. And like, I'm sure that was kind of the intention. Like, you want to have someone from the edge like go to the final 3, but it's also like it feels wrong and a little bit like easy because it's like,
Yeah, it was
did
just
he
so,
really have to play?
yeah, it was so unfair that, like, sure, yes, you have to get through 1 vote at final 6. You're the newbie back on the beach, whatever. But final 5, you're smooth sailing, fire, and then your final freaking tribal council. I just think if you're going to come back at final 6 from Edge, you shouldn't get an immunity idol. Maybe a clue or some advantage or something, or no advantage at all. Like, that really then goes to testament like how good you are at Survivor. Even when people come back from other game, like even when you have something like whatever the other islands are called, Redemption Island, when you have to go off, Exile, I don't even remember. When you go off and you're voted out and you do a challenge, you don't get immunity idols when you come back in the game. Like, what's the difference here when someone at final 6 gets an immunity idol? And that's where Rick should not have given back the second half, but hindsight's 2020 kind of thing. But like, to get an immunity idol at final 6, that is so whack.
Yeah, it's just, I think that the intention was so that they couldn't just get voted right back out. But it's like, if they don't have the game skills to avoid getting voted right back out, then they don't have the game skills, you know?
Yeah,
So,
like, if you can't save yourself at 1 vote when all of these other people on the season, besides Devin, who's been voted out, have gone to tribal council before and either not gotten votes like Gavin or have saved themselves from being voted out like Julie, like, you deserve to be freaking voted out and sent home when you get back in. Like in Redemption Island, Matt got back in the game and he was voted straight back out. They didn't give Matt an idol. Like, what the heck? With Yeah, so I think with this, it's, you just have to show your social chops in the game. You win your way back in, you need to prove it. You don't get no like crutches or help in the game. You have to be on your own. And I think that's what also with the finale, if you come in final 6, you're safe at final 5, you have to do fire at 4. then you're in the finale. Make it a final 2 season, so the person has to do another challenge or go to another tribal council. Make them work for it rather than basically giving someone a crutch to win the game.
Yeah. So basically, this whole like finale was just a mess, like an unsatisfying mess. I wasted 3 hours of my life on this.
Yeah, I think it really goes to show too that Survivor is becoming a lot more about the idols and advantages that you have rather than your actual social gameplay, because people in Final Tribal Council, they were like, "Gavin, why didn't you find any idols?" I think Gavin had a great answer. He's like, "Y'all, I did not need to find any idols. I had the social game. I was never really on the chopping block. He had no votes cast against him and won 2 immunity challenges." But for some reason, people forget about that. And they were like, "Yo, Rick found so many idols. Why didn't you find any idols?" Or Chris played an idol. Why didn't you play an idol? Or like you had an idol played on you, but you never found an idol. It just seems that everyone just likes those flashy moves where you have the advantages. And like, yes, it's hard because the jury only sees so much, yada yada, but I think it's a larger issue with Survivor, especially going into next season where people are already peeved off with this season and the advantages that people were receiving in their bags, to go into something where it's called Island of Idols or whatever. Like, are idols going to be growing on trees now or popping up in everyone's bag? Like, people want the old school Survivor, and when you're putting all these random ass advantages in left and right, maybe I'll find it in my pants tomorrow. Like, it's not.
Yeah, like I really like dislike this idea of building a resume, kind of, just because to some people building a resume means like playing all these crazy idols, doing all these crazy stunts, and it's like building a resume can just mean organizing a blind side. Like it doesn't have to be like super complicated or like involve 4 idols and an advantage, you know? So
Yeah. So I think people are peeved with that. Survivor, everyone likes the old school Survivor. Like, we can just go back to those good old days. But it seems like production is moving. Since it's in Fiji once again, they're moving to all of these random twists and tricks and random things happening. Because if you're not in like a scenic location to talk about the history and whatnot, like, all you have for the show, it can't be Survivor Fiji every single half year. You have to have a like catchphrase theme, Edge of Extinction, Island of Idols, Ghost Island. I feel like recently these themes have been bad.
hot take, Survivor is becoming bad.
They need to fix their editing. First of all, they need to fix their themes. Second of all, with editing, they cast these 18, 20 people for a reason. They're not boring. Why not give everyone the screen time they deserve? Or don't cast people who aren't good for screen time, because then you're basically casting chicken fodder to be voted out first, second, and third. And I think they were lucky with Edge that they had someone like Reem go out very early and then be the heart of Edge, because everyone was like, Reem is like at least funny enough to have those Edge conversations, which are interesting to listen to. And so like that was really the light at the end of the tunnel for Edge. And it's like, why not have a season of pre-jury boots? Because like we see, Rick made it far in the game, even though he was voted out early. Chris wins the game, even though he is voted out third. Everyone likes Reem, and she was voted out first. Like, have a season of pre-jury boots, because oftentimes the people voted out early are the people who are good and can play the game, and that's why they're voted out pre-merge. Take everyone from Ghost Island and bring them back from the pre-merge of that season.
Yeah, it's just. I wish that it was more about the game and less about the idols and crazy advantages and stuff. So.
Honestly, but I think hot take, we've said it other seasons. We were like, or we said it other podcasts. We were like, if Rick had won the season, it would like be sort of a non-exciting finish because it's sort of predictable, similar to HHH or Mike Holloway winning kind of thing. But honestly, I feel like I would have been more satisfied watching Rick win the season, even though it was shoved down our throats for the past few weeks. I think Chris just coming out too much of left field is too much to handle for my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think there was no good way that this season could have ended. Well, meh. It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, so next time we will be talking about Survivor season 39, Island of Idols. That was the wackest preview I have ever watched. I'm like, can we just skip to season 40 already, where hopefully it's all winners or legends coming back? I really like what? Or Robin, are they just gonna do 2 seasons back to back? Like, what is this?
Who knows? Who cares? Not me anymore. So
Next time, Alyssa and I, we're going to be switching to Big Brother. We are never talking about, we're changing our name. Big Brother season 21, 22, whatever's happening this summer. We'll
we can be
podcast
the
about that.
Big Brother. Shoot, I don't know any words that start with B. We need to keep our alliteration. But yeah, let us know what you guys think of the season finale. Were you satisfied with Chris winning? Were you upset that Rick didn't win? Let us know. We love to talk about this stuff. Obviously, we kind of did our like a meandering train of thought thing. So I'm sure that your comments will spark some stuff that like we didn't think to talk about in the video, and we'd love to talk more.
Yes. So thank you all so much for watching, as always, and we'll see you all next time. Please let us know your thoughts. I'm very, very interested.
Bye.